A pleasure to me all at last, and here we are again with HJN Season 5. Now for this instance, what we're going to be doing is something a bit different. We have talked a bit about more recent subjects, ones that correlated to anything promotable, trendy subjects for 2025, among many other things. But for this instance, and at least throughout the next week or two, we're going to be talking about various pet animals. Starting with number 2730, we got something known as dogs. Yeah. And this is something I have saved up for some time along with many others, so you stick around because give or take, let's say, 10 days we'll make this. And we're going to be having ourselves a lot to talk about. In case you haven't already noticed by now, dogs are a thing in my own life. I have shared photos, I have shared videos of such dogs that I've gotten to know about, as well as ones that I've actually owned over the years, mainly as pets. And I feel like that starting with dogs, a very familiar subject of my own term, would actually be helpful in eventually getting to the trail that leads off towards other such subjects. Other animals of which that are deemed as pets. So, without any further ado, let's get started by talking a bit about dogs. Dogs are, as we know, the modern day descendant of the wolf, or otherwise known as the Canis lupus. The dogs, in particular, have stretched out to be with hundreds of different breeds, many hybrids, and tons of colors, shapes, sizes, and of course, cranium structures. So you could say that by 2025, the amount of dogs is stupendous, almost complicated in many ways. But a good way to talk a bit about the dog is to go all the way back to a time in which that their ancestors, the wolves, were indeed first put together. Now, as you probably know by now, centuries ago, even millennia in the past, were when wolves, as we know, were some dominable predators of the forests, the mountains, the tundra, and the otherwise. They didn't entirely coexist with humans all too well, but somebody was able to take them in and allow for them to become more tame and a little more docile, so that way they could eventually be loyal enough to protect them from any such problems. And this, of course, was way back in ancient history. But it's probably better known that the modern day dog goes as far back as at least the 1700s. In time in which that in most countries such as Germany, Japan, England, and the somewhat newly formed United States, they've all began to utilize the dog, or the canine, to their own unique advantage, as a form of recreation, as an improvement over quality of life, and as a multitude of other possibilities. The dog, within 300 years or so, has since become one of the largest known species of animals to ever be kept around as pets. Such breeds out there will include the Husky, the Malamute, the Golden Retriever, the German Shepherd, the Akita, the Dachshund, the Staffordshire, the Yorkshire, the Pug, and of course, a classic, the Beagle. Among hundreds of other breeds that are known to exist, such dogs, including ones previously mentioned, were indubitably seen as some of the most popular. And while there's a good abundance of more common breeds out there, such dogs are known to be rather large in size, while others are quite small, smaller than most mouses in a way. But for the most part, the canine, by all means, is still seen as popular. One of the biggest feats about having dogs, though, is the opportunity of achieving high responsibility, especially in adulthood, when it is required, especially if you're hoping to get by. To have a dog around, especially in your childhood, not only is a unique opportunity for responsibility, but it also can allow for loyalty, friendship building, and also a lot of other social attributes to build. As of late, however, a lot of these traits are somewhat underplayed by the fact that most people are looking to adopt dogs mainly as a form of companionship, a form of beating loneliness out the window. And it probably does make sense knowing that humanity once had to isolate themselves in buildings, including their own homes. It was an order that lasted for months, even years on end for some people. And it made sense that eventually, in order to beat uneventfully loneliness and a lot of other problems that would develop over time, some people would have to start looking for ways to prevent these problems from either getting worse or to even stop them at the source. And that's why the dog is still seen as a popular pet amongst many others. But we know that they're not the only pet out there worth talking about on this channel or otherwise. And like I've said, I'll probably give it a good 10 days worth where I talk about various pet animals, and I feel like that's going to be a good satisfying way to put all of it together into one unique little series. But it won't exactly be its own series that's meant to be kept outside of the series. No, much like most other sub-series I made for HJN, they're all going to be kept within the main series itself, as a means of simplicity, also so it doesn't become overly complicated. With all 5 seasons I've made so far, I've kept all the episodes together, not keeping anything separate, of course. But anyways, I've talked a good amount of things about the dog, but one big thing here to remember: never feed them chocolate. Pretty much all breeds are susceptible to theobromine poisoning, and it likely has to do with their bodily builds. Their digestive systems aren't exactly designed to handle chocolates, which contains theobromine. This kind of alkaline chemical add-on to most chocolates, from Hershey's to Dove, is known to be poisonous. And I sincerely mean to tell you, there was once a time in which that a couple dogs had several pounds of chocolate on one Christmas morning, and a photo showcasing an enormous chocolate fountain of vomit. It was horrifying. Thank goodness they survived. But any other way you look at it though, well, there's a lot more about the dog I could talk about. I'd much rather move on to most of the other subjects associated with pet animals, by all means. So if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.